Hello there, and welcome to another Train Sim World video. Bit more Main Spessart Bahn this evening, and first video I did, I played around a lot with freight trains. Did a little bit of passenger running towards the end of it, but I'm going to have a proper play with these things now. So I'll certainly go one way, the full length of the line. No idea how long it'll actually take because I've not timed this yet. Let's do it on a... Let's see what autumn looks like. And we want to go from Gemünden to Aschaffenburg. It doesn't really matter what time we go at. Try and find a busy airtime. So 4:30 heading into 5 o'clock. Yeah, that should be fairly busy. Like how it keeps showing me splash screens telling me it's on sale now for the DLC that I am literally loading into. Thank you. Okay, so I'll try and do this fairly quickly. Before you do anything, you have to put the reverser into neutral, otherwise the doors won't open. Yeah, make sure it's the right ones. Go and unlock that now or I will forget later. And SIFA on. EZB on, world's tiniest click spots. Come on. That's now set to Schaffenburg, that's fine, we've still got a bit of time. Okay. Just always make sure that should be on, but it's no harm in checking that it's on. And we're off. Not sure how good these night ones are for streaming actually, but never mind. So, SIFA going off already. Don't have to acknowledge the signal though, because it's a main. We're fine. Okay, so up to line speed now, but we're going to be stopping fairly shortly, so we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves here. So just still getting used to the brakes on these trains. It was way too early. Okay, let's check we're actually completely on. Ah, we're fine. I've not actually stopped at a lot of these stations yet because I haven't done an all-stopper. Which probably means there'll be a few mistakes as well. And I'm doing this, I never thought doing it at autumn at this time of day would make it getting dark, so what little familiarity I have with the route will be undone, no doubt, in the dark. Yeah, I'm never sure how these dark ones really are for streaming. I should really watch one back one of these days. Hello there, hi Devon, welcome. We're just getting underway again here. We'll just wait for the doors to close. And off we go. I don't even know how many stations there are on a full service run. Doesn't usually take more than an hour on any of the other routes that they've done, so I wouldn't expect it to be too long, hopefully. I think if I do a return trip though, rather than just switch ends, I'll go back to the menu and reset the season and the time to something a little bit more small screen friendly, perhaps. And this is way more responsive than the heavy freight train I was playing with earlier. It's like the difference between driving a truck and a sports car, really, almost. Not really standing out very well in this light, but there is traffic moving along that road. And it does kind of look cool when you see it going over the bridges in front of you and things like that as well. I have to admit, I really like that. But I got my lights turned up bright enough. Yeah. Pile in a bit more speed. There we go. It's actually it's more responsive than if you've played, anybody who's played the Rus Ignored DLC. This thing is almost a carbon copy. Apart from this little gadget here, is almost a carbon copy of the 767.2 in terms of the cab layout. Much more responsive feeling thing to drive though. Same with the drive loco at the other end. It just feels much punchier and much more responsive than the other ones did. It's just pop a bit of brake in there, kind of hammering it because I was late accelerating earlier. I think I know where I am. It's a bit disorientating doing this in dark for the first time, or sunset for the first time. It all looks totally different. Oh, hello again, Stephen. Welcome back, mate. Yes, I saw your comment, man. I totally meant to do that, honestly. Cool as a cucumber. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's pretty good. You can even at night or in the poor light, you can see the trackside signs a lot more easily. Don't think there was anything to acknowledge there, but we'll do it anyway. .500 meters is actually a lot further than it sounds. I keep finding. Oh, better make sure I'm completely on the platform. Fine. I'm told by a German train driver that they're not exactly discouraged from being heavy-handed with the brakes. So I don't worry too much about riding the brakes on the way in. Yes, mate, the PZB magnets that are buggered up on rapid transit, they're out of place. There are one or two as well in certain scenarios when the signals are showing certain things. The magnets basically don't match what the signals are, and the upshot is that you get absolutely no time to apply your brakes and lose some speed on a couple of the signals if they're anything other than clear. But yes, that bloody magnet outside the tunnels in Leipzig is just, oh, I hate it. It's the closest thing there is to a ruined DLC for this game, I think, and it's entirely because of that signalling system that they buggered up. And then had the cheek to put in the manual, this is a working thing you can do. Fair play, they've redeemed themselves quite well and everything since, but yeah, that is, I'm never going to get over that. Okay, so this is another station I've never been to before that we're going to. There could be some interesting stops here because I've got no idea of that. I get quite reliant on visual braking points and things. I'm not very good when I've just got the number to go by. Yeah, I should probably make a point every time I talk about PZB of saying don't play it on rapid transit because it's shit and it doesn't work. I've never thought about that before. I do apologise if I caused you some frustration there. Oops. For what it's worth, we've all been there. Everybody who's sort of thought, oh, this looks fun, we'll try PZB. For the longest time I thought it was me. So I think a lot of people are honestly put off of PZB because of rapid transit and they don't realise it's just broken in that pack. Which is a shame because it's fantastic when you learn it. Really does make this a completely different game. It's why I play so much on the German routes over anything else. There's just, it's more engaging, I find. NEC would be good if they sorted out a couple of little niggles and glitches with the access system as well, but never mind. It's I don't have much hope the old stuff will get fixed, but the new stuff mostly has been fine. Missing signal on Transpennine notwithstanding, but I think that might have been patched now. I need to play that again actually, I've hardly touched that in I should also pay more attention to my track speed. Yeah, I would kind of agree with that. Especially once you figure out how to use the not AFB. What the hell is it? The tempo map. Love the sound of the Class 45s. Yeah, it's. I grew up near an old Freightliner depot. Remember those? So the sounds from that DLC are very much the sounds of my childhood. I do like it a lot for that. I was so disappointed to find out that was it the 47 is the one, whichever one is the one that I was really looking forward to, and then discovered it was a pig on the hills with a full train behind it. Oh, that might just be a bit short. Hey! Bags of room. Doing 40 sounds like 400. Should probably have a little look outside. I've not actually been here other than passing through it at very high speed. Oh, this is the one, so that's the name of the town. Whatever the name of the station was, I've already forgotten. Hartenstein. This town looks amazing coming in from the other side, because you see it all on the mountainside there. Okay. Right, so that's a station I have been to. That's fine. That's the one I went thundering into with the brake lever. Just about breaking off in my hand earlier, I think. Well, here. Yeah, I do like the clown car horns. That sounds a bit more trainy. Yeah, WSR was really, really good for that. It did. That was one thing I liked about it. It really did feel quite different to anything else in the game, I guess. But there was quite a lot of different things to see along the route as well, which I liked. Although I have to admit, I did kind of get a bit bored of that route very quickly. I still go back and play it occasionally, but there's certainly not much there to get anything for YouTube out of, I don't think. Not for me personally. It's an interesting thing to muck about with on the side occasionally, really. And it's got the Gronk in it, so it's all good. Oh, speed limit coming up. That's the one that I always get caught by going the other way. Always, always, always end up speeding through here. Okay. Oh, that other train's about to leave, I think. Let's see. Not actually. Played with the BR33. It's it's the only thing I've not bought yet. The yardwork thing's pretty cool though. I don't know if you know, NEC has quite a lot of that in it as well. Stuff you can do moving those freight trains around. In fact, it's got a sort of a free shunt mode as well, where you can just, because the line never crosses onto the main passenger one, you can just dick about with moving things around to your heart's content there. Some really good scenarios in Roerse Nord as well that, well, not quite yard work, but there's a bit of sort of dropping off things and repositioning and running around and stuff like that. Northeast Corridor. Look under the GP38 or whatever it's called, and all the services for the GP38 are freight pools, and only 2 of them or 3 of them are actually pulling a train from one end of the line to the other. Most of the rest of them are just shuffling things around in the various yards around. My geography's shite. I don't even know what river it is that you're on the banks of. New York. We'll say it's in New York. We know that. A lot of manual switching and stuff to be done as well. It doesn't really give you much help in that regard. That's where the flying camera comes in really handy. Although I still think that the heavy freight trains in Ruhr-Sig are still longer than the longest one that you'll see on Northeast Corridor. I think I would need to go back and do, you know, scientific measurements and shit, which I'm probably never going to do. But just based on certainly my impressions of the stuff in this add-on, this is more substantial. Actually, the lighting effects are quite nice, certainly on a big screen. I have no idea what they're like on a 720-point stream. There are some issues, none of which are completely insurmountable. What it basically boils down to is in the Northeast Corridor, the train safety systems have got a bit of a bug, and there are two stretches of line where you have to... Sorry, just catching the PZB there. There's two stretches of line. Why am I getting an application? The fuck? Too busy talking, not enough paying attention to the line. That's annoying. Never mind. Right, let's try that again. Oh, there's going to be a slow approach now as well because I'm now locked into restricted monitoring. It buggers my speed limits. And we're being slowed down anyway. Ah, I know what I didn't do. I didn't hit PZ. I acknowledged the speed limit change and then forgot to acknowledge the signal right behind it. You actually need to acknowledge both of them, I think. Right, so that should, yeah, that opens the doors on both sides. And then we can just pre-select. Right, so shouldn't need to acknowledge that signal in front of me because the main bit doesn't need acknowledged and the distance all clear, so let's see. Yeah, welcome back, Devon. Hello again. Yeah, oh, loop of shame for Steve there on Elite. Yes, I've done the loop of shame many times myself. Let's just make sure these doors all close up. That's fine. And we get underway with no PZB monitoring. Yes. I shouldn't need to acknowledge this one, but just to be on the safe side, let's, as we go past. There we go. Nothing. And the only tunnel in the route that I can remember. So we're actually quite far along because Laufach is where the heavy freight train gets its push up the hill. And that is only, I think, that's only about 10 or 11k from the end of the line. That's actually not taken as long as I thought, I don't think. Certainly doesn't feel like it's taken very long. No idea why I decided to acknowledge a clear signal. Not as many stations as I thought out here. That's not a bad thing. Oops. Forgot about the gradient here, quite steep. Hell of a difference coming down it in a lightweight passenger train compared to going up it in a heavy ass freight train. It's actually quite easy to keep this thing under control once you've got it roughly where you want it. The gradient should start to level out fairly soon, I think. We're coming down at about twice as fast as we went up. There we go. It's It's levelled out slightly to a mere 1.9% now. Well, no, back to 2.1. Here we go. Alright enough, actually. The station is practically at the very bottom. Okay, I'm just going to let it roll a bit further down, make sure the back's totally on the platform. Should be far enough. Let's have a look. Ah, easy. So yeah, this is where we picked up our banking loco earlier on the way up. Does look totally different in the dark. It's kind of cool. Like it. Oh, that might be a collectible, which I really can't be bothered going and getting right now. Let's see. Oh, I hear you, man. Yep. I'm the same up until about 6 or 7 years ago. PC gamer, pretty much. I've gone the same way as you, man. But yeah, it's good to see there's lots, not just Sims either. There's lots of stuff just now. I've spent most of last week playing a game called Stellaris. Grand strategy, brilliancy and stuff like that coming to the console. Even if it is going to be such a niche market, hardly anyone's going to bother about them. That Christ, with what, 200 million consoles sold or something like that? Even a niche market's got to be worth a few mil. It's good to see that lots and lots of these types of games we never thought we'd see on a console are coming. High hopes for the next generation. Right, never been to this Horsbach? I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm not going to try. I think I might change the... Oh shit, what did I do? Paying attention to too many things at once. I didn't know what button I'd even pressed. Christ. Now, I've only been this far along the line in a freight train, so I'm not sure how, if indeed it uses signals at all, or slowing you down into stations and things, so I'm just... Okay, so it doesn't look like we get greens on mainline stations, fine. That doesn't even make any sense. I know what I meant. It's fine. Yep, definitely far more AI traffic knocking about than previous ones. I become more convinced of that every time I come along here. Right, don't think I've been here either. No, I've not. I've already said I've not. Yeah, not much. There's some sort of industrial or commercial yard over there. Station house. I mean, it all looks functional enough, nice enough. But it doesn't... there's certainly nothing along here that the first time you see it, you'll go, whoa, cool, like the first time you saw that huge-ass power station on the Ruhr, or... I don't know, like the big bridges in New York and things like that, you know. But it all looks nicer. It's all just a bit tidier, a bit smoother, a bit more detail here and there. Yeah, the smokestack in NTP, that was a good one. Or I quite like, there were bits of NTP where it felt you were literally driving past people's back doors. That I quite like. I quite like those claustrophobic closed-in sections. Same on Ruhrsig Nord. There's a section where it's like you're going around the back of people's houses, and you're close enough that, you know, you could chuck your empties out the window and land in their gardens, kind of thing. Okay, so the next stop's actually the last one, so that was a bit quicker than I thought it was going to be. That's been maybe about an hour. I wonder. Ah, I've got time to go back, I suspect. And I'll remember to check all the CIFA switches this time if I do go back. That's cool. I'd forgotten there was a I didn't know there was a 160 mile an hour stretch of line along, or kilometre an hour stretch of line along here. Oh, fuck! Did I not see this time? Yeah, cock. Right, something else I need to remember and pay attention for next time. I should probably actually like learn the route a bit before I start doing it on YouTube. Might not have been anything on the HUD, mate. It was maybe something trackside that I wasn't paying attention to. Let's see what the next speed limit is, and I'll be able to tell you probably straight away what I did. Didn't acknowledge a speed limit change. There you go. 600 meters to a speed limit. There would have been a signpost or a signal mast telling me that at least a kilometre before I reached it, possibly slightly more. I suspect it was a signal mast, and I've just not noticed it as I've gone past. At least that would be my guess. So the next time I'm coming into Aschaffenburg, I need to just watch for the that speed limit change. Because it's the thing that catches a lot of people with PZB as well is, of course, only the main signal is showing up in the HUD there, so it's not telling me anything about. It will bizarrely put shunt signals, the little ones on the ground at the side of the points. Those will appear on it sometimes, but it will never warn you about a 4 signal. They're never in it, but those are the ones that you often have to respond to. And it's probably, as I say, been one of those that's actually been clear as I've gone through it. I've seen the green clear and not noticed the yellow number 6 at the bottom. Or I've missed the orange triangle trackside. And of course it wouldn't show me the upcoming 60 in the HUD until it had cleared the 100 that was in the way, so... yeah, that's why I try and not mess around with outside cameras and stuff a lot, because even with the HUD turned on, you sort of have to be really watching what's going on. Right, we'll unload the passengers and see what the departure time for this return service is, and if it's fucking ages, we'll go back to the menu and get another one, and if it's an immediate turnaround, I'll maybe just do it. Basically, the proviso of me doing a return trip was that I would have time to do it before the Formula 1 cars take to the track in about 2 hours' time, because I'll be doing absolutely nothing else at that point. screw it, let's do it the quick way. So we'll just let it end the objective there, that's fine. Skippy, we don't need to see that. 17:34. Oh, right, okay, that's just nice time to do a quick cab change, go and get a cup of coffee, and come back and do the return journey. Nice. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to turn it make sure everything that needs to be off is off. Back to signal lights, headlights and instruments on, cab timetable lights, blah 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 blah. CFA off. Signal lights to the tail lights. BZB off. And I think that's basically everything that I need to make sure is switched off up here. So platforms on the other side. What a dope. No, you cannot get on. Right, just make sure there's not an AI driver in there, that's fine. Okay, those switches are all off for now. I am going to come back and check those though after I've set the cab up. I'm going to go and grab a quick coffee first before I do the setup. Right. Let's get this quickly set up for going back to it. Much better after a quick comfort break there. Switch to neutral. They should all still be on anyway. Making the lights bright. Signal lights, headlights. Yeah, that shouldn't have happened. Not to worry. We'll just unlock the doors just now as well, so that they're unlocked in advance. That's because I should have put the parking brake on, really. Let's just quickly check. After last time's little episode, that the... I'm just going to switch these off up here again. Switch them on from this cab, should be okay, but sometimes switching the CF on and off from those switches gives you weird, yeah, it seems to be, yeah, it's working. Not that I'm paranoid or now. Oh yes, set destination service. It says nicht insteigen, not in service. Wait for the clock to tick over. And because the service is now started, there you go. We're now going to Gemünden. And I've lost Sifa again. Okay, so cheating a little bit and using the keyboard for AFB there. Right. Because there's not a timetable as such, this might be a slightly quicker return trip, just because this train does seem to be much punchier than the what do you call it, the Doppelstock, the drive car. we can probably release ourselves from monitoring now. And you can use the lever there, like I was doing before, to give yourself a 5 kilometre or so cushion. Yeah, there is quite a bit of darkness. I see what you're saying about Unreal 4 there. I'm not actually certain that it looks as good on a 720 point stream as it does on the screen anyway. But yeah, there are certainly some issues with the lighting in this game sometimes, that's fair to say. Again, nothing that really destroys it for me, but sorry, I'm concentrating now after those embarrassing PZB failures earlier. Probably shouldn't be doing this in the dark because I've never driven a passenger service along this stretch of the line yet. Right, that could have gone quite horribly wrong because I did genuinely get caught a little bit by surprise by that signal there. I recognise this. I'm usually on that middle line going through much quicker. Okay. I made all my bags are in. Doddle. Okay, only thing we need to remember is because we stopped under PZB monitoring, we'll be moving off under PZB monitoring. So, because we'll be restricted, we'll be doing about 40 until we're clear of it. If the signal ahead was green, I would just release myself straight away from it, but because it's proceed with caution, won't be doing that. We'll just let it run its course. Okay, so we're now released by the system. PZB's released us from monitoring, so we can just get going. We'll give AFB full beans, let it have all the power it wants, and off we go. It does take a little while to fully understand the relationship between the throttle and the AFB lever, but once you figure them out, really good system to use most of the time. Although my personal preference is not to use it for the heaviest of freight trains. Ah, now there's a banking locomotive sitting there with its engine running. Well, I wonder if we're going to see some traffic. No, it would have to be there already before we arrived. There's no way it would be catching up to us. Let's have a quick look, see if there's anything coming. Nah, he's just sitting there waiting for the next heavy goods to come up. Okay, so there's no PZB monitoring, so as soon as we're underway we can just head for line speed again, I think. Blimey, even this thing's feeling a bit asthmatic coming up this hill. Okay, so Heigenbrücken's the top of the hill, and that's about a third of the way along the route, I reckon now. Oh. Very nearly did what I did on the way into the last station on the last run there. Almost blasted by a signal mast that had a speed limit change on it. There we go, the white number 7 on top of this mast, just confirming that. I'm still not quite as silky smooth with my braking and getting the power back as I'd like to be, but never mind. Okay, never actually used the manual door switches on these trains before today. World's slowest clicking switches as well. And off we go again. So why stall? I reckon that's about halfway along, maybe. Definitely not as much difference between limited and all stops on this route as there was on, say, Transpennine. Or, well, no, Roos Ignored was probably not a good example because there was only about 6 stations on the whole line anyway. But or Rapid Transit, when you do the really quick express routes that cut out most of the suburban stations. I really do need to concentrate along here because I recognise none of this whatsoever. So AFB definitely does a better job at holding the speed on this than it did on Rursig as well. Certainly on the passenger trains. Oh, now there's a speed limit change, it's just down to 12. Shouldn't need to acknowledge it, I think the magnet's only for the signal there, but you're always better to press that button if you're not sure. I'm back to the quick way of doing the doors, I think. Let's get out and have a quick look. Do 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 do. Oh, can't go any further up that way. Can I go up this side? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I can't go any further up the platform from here. How interesting. I wonder if it's because of that ramp. I could probably go in the train and then up the other way, but that's... Oh, train race, he's going first. Wonder if we'll see him again on our travels. Oh, he's going the other way. Of course he's going the other way. Duh. That's why he's on the opposite line to us. Okay, I think Partenstein's like the second last stop. Alright, I've not had a look here for a while. Oh, loved F16 on the Amiga, man. And the Falcon games on PC, those did the night vision thing really well. Yeah, PZB and AWS. The way I always, the way I've started describing the difference between the two, because they are essentially the same thing, but AWS tells you when it's time to wake up and do something. PZB will kick you in the ass because you didn't do something. But they're both essentially used at the same, similar circumstances. Basically, as soon as you know where to look for a PZB magnet, it's easy. Well, as long as you keep paying attention and don't drive past things that need acknowledged. I think the slight difference in the light system confuses people as well, because the Germans use that green-yellow combination that we don't. But if you think of their green yellow as our double yellow, and their double yellow as our single yellow, their whole signalling system suddenly makes a lot more sense to you. So this is that 100-mile-an-hour zone that 100k zone I always get caught by. Yeah, you'll never see a single yellow on their railway. Their double yellow is the same as our single. So when you see a yellow and a green together, that's the equivalent of seeing two yellows on the British network. In other words, the next one isn't red, but slow the hell down. And if you see caution on a distant signal, doesn't mean the main signal's at caution. Caution on a distant signal means that the main signal could actually be at red. That's something the manual, I think, didn't explain very clearly in the first one. I spent a lot of time thinking that the 4 signal showed you what was on the main signal, but that's not actually the case. What you should never be able to do is go straight from yellow-green into a red. You should see a double yellow somewhere on the mast before you arrive at a red. Probably, I should really try and do one of these sort of pre-edited or something, because I do sometimes try and talk about the signals as I'm driving, and invariably have to stop in the middle of what I'm saying because my attention is needed in the cab. Okay, so it feels a little bit heavier when you're braking down a hill, but not significantly. Actually, that's quite a big wee town. Duh. A bit more here than I'd realised the first couple of times. As I say, mostly coming through here, I'm chuntering through it 100 kilometres an hour, not really seeing what's around me. Actually reminds me a bit of the bits of the East Coast Main Line when you get north of the Firth of Forth. A lot of bits of it look not unlike this. Okay, lucky. I think the next station's the last one. Oh no, Lower Bahnhof and then I think one more after that. Okay, so we're now about 2/3 of the way along the route. AFB lever. As I said before, you can click and drag it if you like. It's just more convenient if you have a keyboard to do it that way. In fact, sometimes I find it a little bit less disconnecting to do it with the click and drag, simply because jumping from the keyboard to the pad can just get a little bit flustering, and the brake keys don't work properly on console if you're using a keyboard, unfortunately. Well, there we go. AFB's powerful enough to cope with a 20k speed change like that if you give it enough time. Again, freight train, you might have to put a bit of braking in there as well if you're using AFB. I think this is actually the Stealth 100 stretch that I usually miss. Just keeping an eye for an upcoming 4 signal, because with a station ahead you never know what you're going to get. Seems to be clear. And there's a speed limit, a yellow speed limit below it. Yeah, I didn't think it needed an acknowledgement, but you're better safe than sorry usually. Much quicker recovery time from dabbing the brakes on than there is from getting PZB stamped on your face, which is what it feels like inside, crushing your spirit, bastards. Probably pick it up a wee bit again. Oh no, in fact, let's keep it down, because we're past the signal, so we need to acknowledge the 4 signal part. But we're already down to BZB friendly speeds. Can't see a sodden thing. that dude's waiting for? Oh, that might be waiting for me to clear the signal, actually. Dynamic traffic and all that. PC manual, mate. If you download the Steam manuals for the game, it'll have all the keyboard controls in it. I think the cursor key controls are mentioned in the... Do you know what? It might even be the manual for the one thing we never got, the heavy haul one, because that was... all 4 manuals were bundled together. Pretty sure that's where I saw it. Or maybe I just started pressing random buttons. Do you know what? Maybe I just started pressing random buttons, to be fair, because the controls have been copied almost entirely from Microsoft Train Simulator 2002, the original one. And I can still actually remember quite a lot of them. Langham Prosilton. I don't remember stopping there on the way out. Yeah, would love the zoom feature at some point though, man. That would be... I mean, come on, they've got a touchpad sitting there not doing much. Something like that would be really useful. Okay, so that was not a PZB acknowledgement. I pressed it because SIFA had come on. PZB was not needed there for a main signal, and it was already flashing away because of the restricted monitoring. But once it clears itself... Oh yeah, this is the really fast bit. Okay. Looks kind of cool at night, actually. Probably doesn't look anything good on a wee stream. I'll probably try and avoid dark and night time for other streams if I do them, but it's actually quite nice on the PlayStation itself. Okay, so that's a signal telling me to slow down. Don't actually need to acknowledge it if the decrease is to a speed that's over 100k. I'm just being super nervous with my PZB after running a couple of embarrassing episodes on the way out. Yeah, I thought they might. Do you know, I never actually used a DualShock to play Elite, mate. But I did briefly. I had it on the Xbox for a short while. And then it launched on PlayStation, which is what all my pals play on. So I got it on that. But I went and bought a HOTAS for it, basically, the day that I got it. So that's part of the reason I'm not doing much with it just now. is because I spent so long customising that setup over Christ knows how many updates and changes of control map now, and I just can't face going back to learning from scratch. But I should have the whole task situation resolved fairly soon. I'm just really paranoid about missing a sign or getting hit with something. Oh, I think I recognise this bend in the road. There should be a bend in the track. There should be a road just to the left, I think, as we come out of it. There we are. Right, I've already played this too much. Oh, way too early on the brakes there again, really, I think. Right, okay, I'm fairly certain. Let's have a wee look at the map. Yeah, last stop's just down there. Don't think there's another station anywhere. Yeah, see, because on the whole task you get there's a little hat switch thing under your thumb, which you'll probably know from your PC days. It's got one of those, so the head look thing is as natural to me as it is to anybody who's used the joystick with a thumb hat for the best part of 20 years, you know. But I totally get that. It makes all the difference being able to have that wee look around without compromising your other controls. Makes all the difference. And it's something a lot of console games are pretty pish at, to be honest with you. And it is annoying sometimes when you know, they've got that touchpad especially has so much potential, but they won't do it because they don't want to give the PlayStation. They basically don't want to give the PlayStation owners a feature that the Xbox owners don't get, because they don't want to be selling different versions of the game. It's the same reason they gimped the graphics on the PC game, to make it not look absolutely fucking incredible next to the console game. I get why they do it, but it does seem like yet another great idea by Sony sort of squandered, because it never occurred to them that nobody's going to code for a gimmick. Right, can already see the proceed with caution up ahead, so because that's a distance signal, it means the main could be proceed with caution, or it could be a full-blown caution. I won't know until I see it. In fact, I'm just going to switch AFB off and take direct control for this last little bit. I'll do that. I'm doing that with the keyboard, but for anybody who wants to know where the switch is, I'll highlight it at the end of the trip. So the main's at proceed with caution, but the distant is at caution, so it could be a red for the next signal. So I'm just going to make sure I'm below 65 kilometers per hour just to satisfy the 500 hertz magnet. Should it be active? I won't know until I'm closer to the signal. See, this is another one of these annoying ones in the HUD as well. It's counting off the distance to a shunt signal instead of a signal head. I can't even see the next signal head yet. Right, those are still quite a distance away actually, so it's unlikely to be a factor. That's fine. So even if I trigger a 500 hertz magnet now, I'm well within the speed limits. And again, this is a case of something I said to you earlier in the comments, I think, where don't necessarily focus on the speed limit PZB enforces on you, because the odds are the signalling conditions in the track are going to be dictating something even lower to you. That's another thing, that once you stop focusing too much on the numbers and you stop focusing on them and you start just driving the train. See, there's a 500 hertz kicked in. Knew it was coming, totally expected it, didn't panic. That's half the battle. And while it's unloading, the manual AFB switch is hidden under there, and when you turn it on, make sure that your reverser is at least in neutral, and that the AFB lever and the throttle lever are closed completely. When it comes on, you'll hear a wee manny shout, AFB, 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 and if you don't hear that, you've not done it properly. 85 kph is basically just, for instance, if you are coming from 130 kilometre an hour zone into a a 90 kilometre zone. If that zone is protected by PZB, although the speed limit on the track is 90, PZB wants you to be below 85. 85 basically comes into play when it's the lower of the two possible limits. Always drive to the lower speed, the track speed or the PZB speed. But it's surprisingly not that often that the PZB speed comes into play. Not on Mode O. Mode M and Mode U, you will often find the PZB speed limit is lower than the track limit for certain things, and that is the reason for it is basically to make sure that these big heavy trains are going much slower through certain things because of the extra load they're putting on the track and what have you. It is sometimes annoying when you're coming into happens on Ruhr-Sig a couple of times, and there's a few stretches here you'll be doing say 110 and the speed limit changes to 70. Now the track speed is only 70, but you actually need to get down to say 55 kph because you're in Mode U on your PZB, and then you can once you clear the PZB zone you can then build the speed up, but for passenger stuff the PZB limit doesn't actually apply all that often. Because if you see any yellow in a signal, you shouldn't be doing anywhere near 80 kph as you go through. I think it's 60 kilometers per hour on a green and yellow, proceed with caution. I think no more than 60 if you've got a nice sort of light passenger train, maybe a bit slower in a freight train. Assume 40 for a caution, which is the double yellow. You pass one of those, if it's a main signal or a distant signal, doesn't matter, get down to 40k, and don't pay too much attention to the upper PZB limits. What you need to be more aware of really is the 500 Hertz magnets, because once you pass a double yellow the next one might be red, and if it's red you need to slow down even further. But the 85 thing, it's more of a cushion than anything else. The trap you've got to watch is, as I said ages ago, it's not the maximum speed you can do. As soon as it detects 85 or 70 or 55, whatever, boom, brakes are on and you have to go through the whole start-up sequence. So a 5k cushion all the time, you should be fine. The other trick is to brake when you see the signal. Don't wait till you're going past it, but start braking before you're through it. I've seen a few people make the mistake of thinking, well, you react as you go past the signal. You can usually get away with that, maybe on a mode O train, but it ain't going to work on a big heavy freight. I know, because I tried it. I know most of what I know because I failed hard learning it, basically. So that was a trip out and back along the Main Spessart Bahn, and I think I'm going to wrap it up there for tonight because I want to go and watch racing cars instead. But it is brand new content. I'll be playing with it a lot over the next few days, weeks, so there'll no doubt be some more video of me talking shite while I play with trains going up at some point soon. Yeah, Stephen, main difference is that the train, you need to be about 10 minutes ahead of it. In your mind, you need to be really, really far down the track. That said, there's a lot of similarities as well when it comes to braking. As you start to learn a route, you'll actually pick your braking points for different stations, for different trains, and there'll be trackside objects. They won't necessarily be signals or speed limit signs. It'll be you'll know that when you're driving an M7 westbound into New York, that you see the big white office block on your right beyond that specific bridge, it's time to slow the train down, that kind of thing. The church just as you're approaching, what the hell's the name of the one on GWR? Ealing. As you approach Ealing, there's a church that's a handy reference point to start gentle braking an HST. So it's very like driving a car in some ways. Other ways, obviously, not so much. But, right, I'm going to leave that for there just now. So thanks very much again, and I'll be back with some more Train Simulator World very soon.